Ladies and gentlemen, let's go.
Lifestyle, wellness, and a damn good time.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Hit it.
You're listening to the Holistic Life Podcast, presented by Say What Radio.
Alrighty. Welcome to the Holistic Live Show. What's going on, guys? I just want to go ahead and get into it today. It's crazy times. And one thing I love about this platform that we have is it gives us opportunities to spotlight other people. And I'm blessed, as introverted as I am, to have some amazing friends and family who are on the front lines or who I can call on in these times. And one of those friends, one of my best friends actually, said she would join us today. Desiree Adams, aka Nurse Know-It-All, all the way from Houston, Texas, is joining us today. So, yeah, that was my intro. Desi, hi.
I wasn't for sure when it was my turn.
That's okay.
So, hello, everybody out there. I am a registered nurse, and I'm also a nurse educator. I've been a nurse a little over a decade or so. I've worked in critical care units. I've worked in heart disease. And now I do vascular access. I float around and I'm able to see all different types of patients all the time. I've done chemo, oncology, cancer, all of that good stuff. I recently got my master's degree and now I teach. So I teach nursing students. I teach EKG, which is like heart monitoring type stuff. I also have Nurse Know-It-All, which is my educational forum. It's a page basically geared to health education and wellness, spiritually, mentally, physical wellness as well. Part of that to motivate myself to stay physically, mentally, and spiritually well. I do that on the side just because I really love educating people. And I believe that healthcare is like, it's one of those things where we all need it, but we don't all know about it. So
that's one of the amazing things I love about you and your approach to how you want to teach and how you want to educate people, because it's not just, there's a lot of information out there, but I feel there's not a lot of people who want to kind of break down the information in a way that people can know it and understand it and actually apply it. It's kind of like when I got my personal training certification, we had to learn all the names of the muscles, specific muscles, which way they moved, how they moved, all this stuff. But when you're training people, people don't care about that.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to know what vanity move they need to make to get to where they're trying to go.
Exactly. So how
many squats do I need to get a butt like J-Lo? Like, all that other stuff is too much.
Right. My gluteus minimus maximus, like I don't.
Yeah, whatever. What I'm trying to do is minimize my maximus to make it maximize. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for this.
Oh, y'all know I love you guys. I love y'all. If I could do anything to support you guys and also just, like I said, educate people. And look, shout out to my baby Jeremiah, because he's trying to be quiet while we're doing this. Everybody's homeschooled now with COVID-19 going on. So
yeah, that's craziness. I'm going to jump over to Jen because she has all the questions.
No, I'm curious because you said not everybody knows what everything that came out of your mouth about all the different nurse things that you've done in your life. So what I'm most curious about is remind us and tell us a little bit more about what you're doing right now.
So, Houston is, like I said, one of the fourth largest metropolitan area. We have one of the largest medical centers in the world. Actually, it's the world-renowned medical center. I work for one of those major hospitals. I basically go around giving the patients the vascular access. So, you have patients who need fluids and chemo and antibiotics, IV stuff. So I'm a special procedures nurse right now, which allows for me to be able to jump around to all different types of disciplines and see all different types of patients and really just communicate with them on a level one-to-one. And really, because my job is so focused, I can kind of move out and focus on what's important to them. And so I think as healthcare workers, sometimes we lose focus of the whole person and we focus on the disease or what's going on with. And so I've just been blessed, and I call it a blessing because God blesses me with just immense opportunities. But to just be able to go in and talk to the patient and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. But while I'm doing it, tell me about your life, you know?
So you can kind of ease them.
Yeah, just to take their mind off of it. And it's really 20 minutes of therapy for me, and it's 20 minutes of therapy for them. I get to know them. They get to know me a little bit because I'm pretty transparent. You know? I'm an open book. Unlike other people, I'm an open book. So I get to go in and really kind of listen to people. And that's what really let me know that there's a void in the education of healthcare. Like people, they get their prescriptions, they get their diagnosis, and they do what they're told. And we're approaching a generation and an age where more people have more questions with the internet and this and that. But there's, like you said earlier, so much information out there. You're like, well, what's right? Well, what fits me? Well, how can I use that information to benefit me? And everybody uses information differently.
I Googled my symptoms and I'm supposed to be dead.
Oh, God, absolutely. If you Googled it, you're dying. It's done. You're dying or you're dead. Either you're dying or you're dead. I don't know which one. You kind of figure it out. But yeah, one or the other.
So with how busy that you already are and all the different disciplines, I mean, right now we're going through something really different in most or any of our lifetimes. You may have a different perspective, but I'm really curious with the coronavirus, with COVID-19, what was your life like before? What is it like now? What is it like on the front lines? Are you dealing with these patients face to face? What is this like for you?
So I'll tell you that I think that this thing is just taking every human being who has a soul by storm. Like you just don't expect this to happen. And so much like everybody else, you live life planning what you're going to do when you're 40 or 50 or 60 or decades or 5-year plans and 10-year plans. And I don't want to negate the fact that I've always valued life because I've seen people come in one day and life changes because they get a terminal diagnosis of, something that's, 6 months to live. But at the same time, or they got into a car accident and we don't know if they're going to wake up. But at the same time, when you're living at the corner of healthy and happy, you're like, I'm planning Fiji, and it makes you take perspective and you're like, okay, well, I don't know what this is going to be like in 30 days. I don't know what this is going to be like in 60 days. And so I think for me, it's just made me really value day by day interactions with my family, with my sons, with my dog, but also fear sets in. I think that it would be unrealistic to say that you don't have some level of fear of what's going to happen because you don't know and your leaders don't know. The people that we look to don't know. So it's kind of like, oh crap,
And it's crazy, just like touching on something you said earlier while we were talking. And you said like the only difference about this situation is it's kind of in our faces. Like any other day, like tomorrow isn't promised.
It never was.
Exactly. Tomorrow never was promised.
Exactly.
Like you can step outside and like never
and
come
something
back
can
home.
Happen.
This is just in the forefront of people's, like, it's in our face.
Well, even when you don't want it to be in your face, like Jay and I are not very big news follower people. And with this, right, all of us, right? Because it drags you down and you start thinking about all those fearful things. And right now with the coronavirus, I mean, I try to avoid it, but I'm still super curious about what's going on because as we're talking about, it's in our face.
Right.
Yeah. And because no one knows, the education is constantly changing. Here in Houston, our mayor, he was on a press conference one day and he's like, oh, I'm not shutting down the city. This is rumors. That's those spam people and I wish they stopped doing that. And then 2-3 days later, he's like, okay, so I'm shutting down the city. And so I see it in the world, in the city, but I also see it in the hospitals. We go from open visitation, where if you're in the hospital, if your loved one is in the hospital, being a nurse for so long, I remember the days when there was a closed visitation and there was hour visitation, which means like, so you're in the hospital, right? But visitation hours are from 8 to 11, and then it opens back up, go to lunch, and then it opens back up at another set of hours, and then they change that. And so I saw healthcare change it to, okay, well, we have more flexible. So it's open from like 7 to 7. Then you give nurses like a 2-hour window to kind of switch shifts, and then it's back open all night long. And I saw that change to where, okay, 24 hours, you can come visit your family member whenever you want to, because they saw that this improves people's health. When you're sick in the hospital and you can have somebody come in and just keep you company, sometimes it improves your spirit, your mental, which then improves your physical. And now it's went from, okay, you can have one visitor, but the visitor has to be, they have to answer all these questions. Then it's, okay, you can have one visitor in certain areas, but certain areas can't have any visitors. And I just got the email this morning, and it's like no visitors. And you think about, these are people. That's one thing that I told you, I said earlier, I think as healthcare workers, we start to focus on the disease and not the person. These are people. These are sick people. These are people that are not in their natural element, and no one can come visit them now. So put it in perspective of, if this was your mom in the hospital, you can't go see her. If this was your wife in the hospital, she can't come see you. You can't come see her. What do you mean?
I got to think about hospitals in general. Like, I don't like them.
Exactly. So sometimes it's comfort, because you're not, trust me, that phobia is very, very popular. People don't like the hospitals because you associate it with death and dying. So it comforts you to have somebody who is well come visit you, because then the other side is still there. That's a mental thing.
All right. So with the raise and the rising amount of positive coronavirus cases, what happens if you were about to have a baby, or like something like a regular procedure put you in the hospital?
So there are exceptions. If you're a pregnant woman and you're about to give baby, their husband or father of the baby can come. I mean, right now, this thing is rapidly changing, and that's what we were talking about earlier, the information. We don't know what's going on. But right now, there are exceptions. Or if you're on hospice with your patients who are usually terminal, they've probably been given a time frame where their disease isn't going to get better. And so they're being provided comfort measures. And so those patients can have visitors. They made exceptions for certain situations. But again, the normal patient, the patient who went in for, say, a surgery that it was needed, but it isn't like one of those high risk, we think something's going to happen surgeries.
Right, like super major.
Yeah. Say people have shoulder replacements and stuff like that. They get infected and they need to go to the hospital. Well, you can't have visitors, sir, because you don't know if your family's going to come in with COVID, infect everybody. And that's crazy, because sometimes these minor surgeries, these are people who are very well. And so they aren't used to being in the hospital by themselves. They may have never spent a day without their spouse or dog in their entire life, So like, now you're telling me I have to stay in this hospital. I don't want to do it. And we're also making preparations for an overwhelmed healthcare system, which is a big fear, because that's what we were seeing overseas, where the healthcare system is just overwhelmed. None of us watch the news, but I had to jump on. And I went to the worst of all, Italy, and their healthcare system is just completely overwhelmed. Their doctors, their nurses, and my heart goes out to them, because I've never in my nursing career had to make some of the decisions that these people are making. Like, they have doctors over there deciding who's going to live. They were talking about writing into policies, like, if you're a certain age and you catch corona, like, they're basically going to put you somewhere in hope. I hate to put it that way and make it seem like they're not going to try, but I don't know how all of our listeners are familiar with iRobot, but there was a part in the movie where the robot goes down and he decides based on a percentage who he would save and who he wouldn't, because one of them had a survival rate that was higher. Like, there was a younger guy and a kid, and they were just like, oh no, let the kid go, because the older guy has a survival rate that's higher, and Will Smith had this whole battle. But basically, that's a robot. They're making humans make robot decisions, and that's just scary.
I was going to say, the emotional weight of a person who has to make that type of decision.
Yeah. Because everybody has a granny. Everybody has a mom. Everybody has a dad. Somebody is somebody all the time. But I was on there and I was looking and I was just like, this thing is, they have makeshift hospitals for just COVID patients, not makeshift floors. Right now, over here where I am, they have, a floor or two dedicated. They're preparing. They have whole hospitals in Italy. That's all that they have. I was reading yesterday, 973, if I'm not misquoting that number, 973 people died in 24 hours. 24 hours. Almost 1,000 people from one disease in 24 hours. That's just scary stuff.
That is mind blowing and overwhelming. And I'm thinking about everybody, close friends who were having birthdays come up. And some of them are throwing themselves pity parties, you know, I can't go out, whatever. And it's like, but yo, think about all the people who didn't wake up today. Like all the people who won't wake up tomorrow. You're still here.
It's crazy. I read those statistics. I'm over here looking at Italy like, oh God. And then I get a phone call from a family member of mine who's like, I don't even know if this is really real. I see these celebrities and they say they don't have any symptoms. And I'm trying to find out if it's even real. Have you actually seen a COVID patient? Like you've seen somebody that's infected with COVID? Because it's still kind of far removed from where we are. You know, like one of the largest cities, and we have, I think, like, I don't want to misquote a number, but less than 1,000 cases. And so when you have a million plus population, you got 100 people, well, you're talking about small change. But the way this thing develops so quickly and so rapidly. And so I was just trying to tell him, and I was like, yes, I have. For one, I have seen a real live COVID-19 patient. The statistics are there. I try to rationalize. So one thing we know about our government, they don't really like to lose money like this. We're talking about, we're shutting down our economy, like shutting it down almost. Like this is horrible. There was somebody who was going to retire with their 401k that lost $20,000, $30,000. You're talking about a big dip in what your 401ks and 403, because the economy is just tanking right now. Prior to COVID being an issue, gas prices were like, $1.99, $2.03-ish. Right down the street from my house, gas is like $1.39. I haven't seen $1.39
since I was 16.
Gas.
I think it was 99 cents when I was 16.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, okay, well, I mean, I'm feeling these gas prices. I could probably go get my Hummer, but at the same time, it's like, no, this is real. And I don't think that the government will be like, we got y'all with that one.
Right.
Huh? No. They're not shutting down the largest music festival. South by Southwest is like the largest music festival in the world. They're not shutting that down.
And the Olympics moving it to 2021.
Yeah, I mean, it's craziness.
Name one person. No billionaires play like that. They don't play like this. They're shutting down whole NBAs.
Yeah, MLB, NHL, the soccer leagues.
I was talking to my husband the other day, and we were just like, you remember we're a big movie buffs, but the movie Friday, and it was like, name one person in the hood that play like that. Name one person in the government that plays like this, where they would lose this much money to just be like, gotcha, folks. No. So no, nobody's making this up. Nobody's paying these celebrities to say that they have anything. Now, whether somebody is getting on there saying that they have it to build morale for their following, I don't know. But no, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's very real. It's very unknown. It's very surreal. If anything, it's coming. It's coming fast, and we don't know how hard.
So I'm sitting here thinking, right? You've been exposed. You've been a nurse. I consider Jay and I pretty clean, well-groomed people. So what I'm curious about is, okay, so now it's like, all right, you got to wash your hands, and I've got to clean a certain way. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm doing it right. And I'm sure there's some people who are really good and some people who aren't, but how do I even protect myself? I don't even know what to do.
And the information changes daily. And so as much as you don't want to jump on the CDC, I definitely say jump on cdc.gov and look at the updates on what they're coming up with. I also am updating Nurse Know It All, which is the page on Facebook, to just kind of show people that the 20-second hand washing that they're telling you to do. Like, people are like, what is this 20-second hand washing ceremony? Because most people, you think about it, you're not washing your hands. Normally you're not washing your hands for 20 seconds. And there's a scrub to it. There's a, get in there. Most people are like, and then I'm done. And so we want you to get into the crevices. We want you to do the scratching. So I actually am putting together a video just to kind of show people that, of course, you can YouTube and all that stuff. I'm just trying to compile it all on one site for people who access Nurse Know-It-All. But going out into public, cleaning commonly used surfaces in my house. The day I came home, I actually did the hand washing thing with my sons. So the virus is killed with Lysol. So I know Lysol is a high commodity right now. You're not just finding it everywhere on the shelves, but spraying down areas, bleach, wiping commonly used surfaces, doorknobs, door handles, places that you're not thinking about, wiping down your cars when you go shopping and you're coming in contact with this, especially for us drive-through eaters, still the ones that are still going through the drive-through. I don't know, I'm guilty. But, you put your hands on your steering wheel and then you're like eating your taco and your hands on your steering wheel and you're eating your taco and you're like shoving COVID down your throat. Don't do that.
We had pizza a couple weeks ago before this really got like blown out. So y'all don't trip and be like, why the hell are you still going out? This was weeks ago. There was a lady at the pizza place eating pizza with her gloves on.
Oh my God. I've seen so many people. They walk around and they put their gloves on and they're like, I'm protected with my super handy dandy superpower gloves. And they touch everything with those gloves because it's not their hands. And then they're like eating with those gloves. You've completely defeated the purpose. And you've used a resource that might be scarce in the near future. Because these things have to be produced and now they have to be massively produced and the shortages are coming. We've already seen these shortages. I had to go scour for eggs and milk. So hand washing, just to get back to what Jenny was saying, hand washing is very important, the 20 seconds. Your use of your hand sanitizers, but when you use your hand sanitizers, the scrub, because friction kills. So scrubbing and using the friction in hand washing, making sure you're not recontaminating your hands by touching the same knob on the water faucet that you just touched when you cut on the water faucet, using a napkin to cut that off, using napkins to open the doors to the restrooms that you're using. Again, those are frequently touched areas in your home. So you definitely want to keep those wiped down. Here now, I'm like probably at a twice a day wipe down. And it's not anything that's going to be like, oh my God, you got to spend all your life doing this OCD wipe down thing. But just wiping down the door handles to the front door, the back, like handles that you use to access your house. And so your hands haven't been sanitized. And so if you're going to access your house and maybe go and grab that slice of pizza, you want to stop that practice and wash your hands, that kind of thing. When you go out in public, the 6 feet, I know that's hard. They've come out with all these different handshakes and stuff like that, but it is hard to change your life in a short amount of time. So if you see somebody you know or love, you're like walking up on them and slowly you see the distance close. I had a friend come over to my house and she's like, hug. And I'm like, And honestly, it wasn't because I don't love her. I want to hug her. But at the same time, she has a baby. I'm in the hospital all the time. This thing has a 14-day incubation. You don't even know if you have it, so I could be fine sitting here chatting it up with you, giving you hugs all day. And I don't want to be the reason why you get COVID. Like, I don't want to be that. So I would never do it purposely, of course, but if I can do anything to prevent it, but to protect yourself, stay in, use some of this technology we have, FaceTime, all the video chats, Zooms and stuff like that. Come up with different new ways to talk to your friends and family without coming in contact with them. And what we're trying to do, and I know people are like, well, how is that going to fix it? How long are we supposed to do this? Like, we can't keep this up for forever. We're just trying to buy time. And I think that's what the public is really missing. What we're trying to do is buy our scientists and our laboratories and the people who are trying to come up with the vaccine for this thing or some treatments. Right now, we're flying in the dark with how to treat this. Most viruses, the doctor usually, if you go to the doctor with a virus, most of them, they'll tell you, okay, let it run its course. Make sure you drink some fluids. And they're telling you the same thing with COVID, unless it gets really bad. And then they have to put you in the ICU and do some other stuff. But it's like one of those things where you can't just be like, oh, I don't even care about, because you don't know who's going to be the one to get really sick and the one to actually say, well, and although our older population and our immunosuppressed people are at higher risk, there are patients that are in their 30s, 40s, teens that are getting this, that are 50s, 60s, 70s, and that are getting this. There are politicians that are getting this. There are rich people that are getting this. There are poor people that are getting this. I heard somebody else say, I don't think Black people can get it. There are Black people, white people.
It doesn't
Italians,
discriminate.
Mexicans. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, you'd be amazed what people will come up with when they're scared and they're like, I think I have immunity. No, it's not discriminating via age, race, denomination. You could be Catholic, Muslim. Right. This virus does not care. And so, just doing what we can to try to buy them some time.
And I get the people who are like, I'm stuck in a house. How long is this going to last? But it's like you said, we have all this technology. This is a temporary pattern interrupt. Like, children are still learning from home now. This is crazy. You have the iPads and the video chatting. And I heard that through somebody else, a virtual birthday party like last week. And it's like, in the grand scheme of things, man, just sit down. And Houston floods every other year. To the point where...
Oh, you're going to go there, huh?
I am going to go there. You're right. I am going to go there, where people are literally stuck in their houses, like no power. Last time, I think it was Ike, but basically we were out of power for 2 weeks, and then it's basically turned into a camping trip at our own house. Like, no TV, no power, no nothing.
That's why you don't like camping.
One of the reasons, yeah.
Learning something new every day.
So I saw that post.
I mean, you can choose to move on. We don't even have to talk about it.
No, I was just, so I get it. There's a lot of technology, but I also understand that people are different. And social interaction, believe it or not, there is a correlation between human touch, social interaction, and mental and spiritual stability, period. There is science behind it. So I get it. Like, yeah, there's been situations in life where we were forced to do this, and in worser states. We didn't have electricity or clean water or whatnot. But at the same time, I think that's a part of the struggle too, because you look outside and it's a pretty day. There is no rain. There's no barriers. This is an invisible enemy. The president, he says it's an invisible. I think that alone is a mental challenge. There's nothing out there stopping you from doing the thing that you do every day but fear, which is something that normally we tell people, get over your fear, move past your fear. Oh, and let's not get into the spiritual side. Don't fear nothing. God has you. You're protected. So there's a lot of that. And so to just stay in, and if you're a workaholic, if you're somebody who works by schedules and routines, this is a mental breakdown. You literally have to put your mind back together. Like, how do you take apart and put back something in a couple of days? And even with those people who were in the hurricane, there's some breakdown there. There's cabin fever. We were stuck in the house for Harvey for 5 days. I don't even like dirty water. Like, I don't like chlorine water. I don't like pool water. But I was like, okay, so I'm not going to put my feet in the water. I'm just going to go to the edge where the water is and just stand outside. I was tired of people. Not only that, you're stuck in the house with people with routines. Like, so, there's a lot of, albeit Ray and Jenner, happily married and beautifully married. There are a lot of people that depend on those 8 hours away from their spouse. They depend on those 8 to 10 hours away from their kids for mental sanity. I'm about to go crazy in here with these kids. And they're looking at me, trying to figure out what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to do. We can't do nothing. We just sit here. I don't know.
There is that aspect too. I get it. I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it at all. There is that aspect where, like you said, that 8-hour day, that those hours that the kids are at school, at band practice, hanging out with their friends.
It gives you time to realize you don't really even like your kids or your spouse or whoever. I love my spouse and I love my kids.
But
this will give you reflective time to be like, I don't like them that much. I think I'm going to practice some more social distancing. Go give me a hotel. it's enough to drive you because you're not used to this. This is not normal.
Well, now all the parents who are now homeschooling, who have maybe never done that type of thing before, or really have an interest or are plugged in, or now you got to go learn all that. How do you keep your brain about you with all this stuff, right? With all this change and potential fear and unknown. And
it's 5 o'clock somewhere every day. It is a happy hour somewhere every day, all day long in my house. I literally have a sign in my kitchen like happy hour is. There's no happy hour. It's happy all the time. Like, because I have a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old, middle schoolers, and they're both boys, and they smell themselves, is what my mom used to say.
Oh, you're smelling yourself.
Yeah, you're smelling yourself, which is a terminology for they think they grown, they think they know everything. And I really, really, really want to find a safe place and just shelter all the teachers and all the students, and they can just go back to school, right? And they can keep them there. They can quarantine all of them there so that the kids can learn, the teachers can teach, and they don't have to be here with me, because I feel like it's probably better that way. It's like trying to teach them stuff I don't know anything about.
We didn't do math like that.
No, we didn't. And like my sons, they have school issued laptops. And so they came home with their laptops. I literally just like right before we started this, I got off the phone with the counselors from my son's school and teachers calling me all the time, like, hey, they need this assignment and we need to turn this in. And, school's still in session. But again, kids don't see it that way. So you're trying to acclimate a child, because see, learning has been an option even for adults up until COVID. Like, okay, you really need classes with universities up the street. And if you feel like you're disciplined enough, then you can take online classes. And I, for one, just got into the online education. I've been in school all my life. And I've just gotten into online classes within the last 2 or 3 years because I wasn't disciplined enough. Because if I don't have somebody standing in front of me telling me this is what you need to do right now, we're trying to do this to teenagers, to kids. So when I'm at work and my husband's at work, they're like laying in the bed till noon. They get up, play their video games. They 45 minutes. They like, I turned in something. I don't even know what I turned in because I didn't really care. And so I guess it's a blessing and a curse because my husband and I are both still working. And so my sons are at home. Like, so I just told them today, I was like, I'm putting y'all behinds on the schedule. Like, we're going to start getting up at 9. We're going to start doing this and this. And they're not excited about it. And neither am I. I am used to going to work, then being in school, and I at least get my 8 hours of clear kid conscience.
Which is important. It's a big change for everybody. A big, rapid, immediate change for everybody that's happening all at once.
When I think too, just in this process, I would just encourage everybody to be patient with themselves because like you said, you're not going to change overnight. You can't change your life in the snap of a fingers. Although, funny enough, all of our lives have changed at the snap of a fingers. And so it's going to take some adjustment time. It's going to take a period to figure out some of these new ways of living. And so just be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you're not super mom or super woman or super dad or super person that you can't. I mean, I'm even going through that myself. I'm used to being able to work a certain way, and we don't have the extra distractions of the kids or other family members being home. But it's a big change. And it's been a little more difficult to get focused and to find what this new reality is. Because even though I don't mind being around Jay, because I did have so many years traveling away from him, I still had my days out in the community where I was networking, or I'd go play sports, or I'd go do other things.
See a new face.
Yeah, like just something else to get the energy going.
Like whatever you're doing. And you're an extrovert, right, Jen? Like
very much so.
Yeah. And that's difficult. I mean, this year I'm more of an introvert, extrovert, if that is something. I can get into my ways where I don't want to be around people too. My husband is a complete extrovert, like complete. He's just in your face kind of person. I don't know what he would do if he had to stay home all day. Like, he doesn't even want to stay home on the weekends. Like, even when he works every day, it's like he has something to do on Saturday, something to do on Sunday. He's like, ugh. And so it's hard to just be like, okay, what movie are we going to watch? This is the excitement of our day. Let's go back and watch another movie that we used to like.
Another one.
Yeah, another one. So that's really difficult for an extrovert Some people just need to get out for sanity. Like mental health is very important. I'm a strong believer that if your mental health isn't good, then your physical health will soon wane. It will soon go away. Like, so when you start thinking, okay, I'm about to go crazy in this house, I'm getting stir crazy. Like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to clean. And I need to get out. And then you can't get out. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. And you can't invite people over. Now they're talking about breaking up parties if it's more than 10 people in your house. So you can't even invite family over. And for their protection, you shouldn't. You know, this is a good reason to try. But at the same time, it's like, well, dang, you know, what can I do then? So now people are going to like be drawing those stick figures all over their houses or something, making like turning their balls into like Castaway. I don't know what people are going to do. I really don't.
Get creative. I don't know. I mean, what if you tried something new in these times and did something different that was healthy, not destructive, different? I've always got the positive.
You got a problem with my drinking?
No, but I just didn't want people to think like, oh, cool, I'll try some drugs I never had. You know?
I honestly believe like on the other end of this, because I feel we're going to make it through on the other end of this, but there's going to be some miraculous, innovative things that come from this.
Absolutely. I feel like, for one, I'm a spiritual, earthly person. I feel like the earth is purging itself. Right now, while we have to sit still, there's less pollution, there's less traffic. There are the good things that are happening. People are turning inward. They're actually learning about their spouses, learning about their children. They have no choice.
Right,
you got to. Yeah. You can't really kick them out right now because they ain't got nowhere to go. So people are learning about that spiritually. I'm also a firm believer that it's about a relationship in the spiritual world. It's, you know, so the people who kind of got into the congregational church and kind of could get lost now have to find a spiritual relationship.
And they have to break down that word by themselves and look inward to see what that means for their particular life.
Yeah, they got to get in it. You got to step into that thing, wade in the water. You know? So, don't wade in any water right now because you don't know how to water it. But, you know, I want to send people out like, woo, no, don't do that. But yeah, I do believe we're going to make it out on the other side. And I think that we're going to be better for this technology wise. I think we're going to be better prepared for if something like this happens again, because I don't know that this is bioterrorism or not, but it's really close. And so if nothing else, we can get prepared for this type of disaster if it ever strikes again. And two, I just honestly, individually, if this does nothing else but make us appreciate the fact that every day is a blessing. It's not promised. You're not guaranteed. You can get mad at somebody, but really at the end of the day, what you're mad about or what you're hurting about, what you haven't forgiven somebody about, would you care if they were one of those patients being ruled away in Italy? Like, would you care? And on some level, you have to learn to let stuff go and let your spirit grow. And so if nothing else, if we just allow for that spiritual growth to just love each other and breathe and learn how to get through this, let the earth heal some while we heal some internally. I think it'd definitely be worth, I mean, not worth the lives of people, but I definitely think it'd be a positive thing. Because there's sometimes, you know, in the midst of chaos, there's a lot of things that could come out of chaos. A lot of good can come out of chaos.
Well, and I mean, I think the thing too, the other couple of takeaways from that is, you know, there's always other ways to say it. There's always a silver lining, number one. And number two, Jay, you always say this and you remind me, things we cannot control, like this is happening. This is going on. We cannot change it. This is happening. So, but we can control the way that we respond to it, the way we think about it, the way that we show up every day, the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we talk to others. We can control all of our actions in response. And one thing that really helps too is to connect with, if you don't already have a mental health counselor, you can find one. I talk to one and we talk on FaceTime. And so if you want to start one of those relationships, you can find somebody who can support you.
I think that's really important because, like I said, this is an instant pattern interrupt for a lot of people. and you're finding yourself having to deal with a lot of issues and situations that you were able to escape from, be it like work or school or whatever. But now these situations are like in your face, and some people don't know how to deal with those things.
So this has been a great talk. We've definitely covered a lot of ground, and we're so glad that you came here with us, Desi. So if anybody wants to connect with you, remind everybody where they can find you.
So I'm on Facebook, of course, as Desi Adams RN or as Nurse Know-It-All. I have 2 pages, and I'm, like I told you guys, I'm an open book. So you can connect with me in either way, and I would be more than happy to answer questions, or if I could help in any kind of way, if I could pray for you. I'm also an open prayer person. I will pray for you in a minute. So, I mean, whatever I can do, just by all means, visit my site, like it, follow me on Facebook. I'm there. And before we go, you can try a whole lot of wine right now. So you could just become a wine connoisseur by the time this is over. I'm just saying. Okay, go ahead.
You starting a wine business too?
Yeah, like I'm just saying, like the Total Wine by my house is still open.
Maybe you need to get an affiliate code.
I did just promote them, didn't I? I don't. They not paying me for that promo.
You need to work on that. Make sure they get it hooked up.
Right?
All right, man. Anything else, Jen? We good?
No, we're good. Good chat.
Desi,
guys, stay healthy.
Thank you so much. And guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out all the other episodes. And we're going to try to have a few more guests on. I think this is fun. I love talking to Jen, but I like talking to other people too.
Yeah, and let us know if you like us having guests on and what else you want to hear.
Man, I loved it. I really do. And actually, I like this whole social distancing thing that we're doing.
But we're being social.
Exactly. Like, I'm like, can we do this more often? Just like with, well, of course, I'll need wine, but y'all can drink water.
Kombucha.
Non-caloric beverages. Whatever non-caloric beverages you guys are drinking over there being all healthy and stuff. I think this is awesome.
That might be cool. Like going forward, getting together with a few friends and just like having really, you know what?
Cool.
Having like a fireside chat.
We should have a dinner party. Like everybody schedule, dinner at the same time, and we get the cameras.
Because you can bring it, but you can't. Nobody can taste it.
But you make
put
it
up towards the picture, like, hey,
right. And if you want to try it, if it looks good, you can trade recipes.
Yeah, that's it. Well, or something like that. Because, sometimes at the dinner table, everybody want to talk at once. We'll figure it out.
I like the idea.
All right, guys, stay healthy out there.
Holla.
Bye.
You can subscribe to the Holistic Life Podcast from your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to check out 2jholla.com to stay in the know as an official 2JH Insider. Mahalo for tuning in. And until next time, that's our show.